There was one German pathologist who examined a 28-year-old man who had died 40 days after having Pfizer. And he looked at the testicles, and instead of finding sperm in the testicles, it was just... The way that the injections worked was that they had a code, basically. The messenger RNA was a piece of ribbon which was coded for the production of this foreign, non-human, toxic, poisonous protein. And it didn't stay in the arm. They said it stayed in the arm and it would be gone after a couple of days. It actually went all over the body, including through the blood-brain barrier, so into people's brains, and it crossed the placenta, went into fetuses, etc., went into previously healthy cells. It took over the ribosomes, which is the protein-making mechanism of the cells, and it commandeered it to make this horrible poisonous spike protein. So first of all, that ribosome is not now making the proteins that you need to keep your cell nice and healthy and everything in balance, right? And instead, it's making this horrible toxic stuff, which it's just churning out. Now, for example, a one dose of Pfizer, there were 13 billion pieces of this messenger RNA, which would make trillions of spike protein in the body through the ribosomes. Trillions. We also don't know how it switched off. There's no switch off mechanism. So because they didn't do any studies to look at the pharmacokinetics, etc., there's no way of turning this off. Now, in some people, it might just peter out. Maybe the body gets rid of those cells that have got it in there. We don't know. So people are full of spike protein, and the pathologists were told not to stain any pathology samples they took with the one dye that would actually show them spike protein. So, of course, there are always some really good people who will do what they know is right, and they will stain it with this stain, and they found that the tissues were full of spike protein. In fact, there was one German pathologist who examined a 28-year-old man who had died 40 days after having Pfizer, and he looked at the testicles, and instead of finding sperm in the testicles, it was just all spike protein.
Oh my God, that's a really disgusting, barbaric, monstrous idea. You know what I'm getting listening to you is that nothing like the kind of reckoning that's required has been undertaken. Nothing like it. And the world moves so quickly, and information moves so quickly, and people are so either reluctant or unable to take on the magnitude. It's almost like Goebbels is, or at least the mad maxim attributed to Goebbels, the bigger the lie, the more people will believe it. It's just so sort of inconceivably dark and disgusting that you're almost like, I can't bother to deal with that. It's too much. I'm just going to look out the window or watch football. It's too kind of demanding. What was the counter argument? What was it? This is great because what will happen is the spike protein goes into your body, and then you'll be generating these spike proteins, and I'll tell you what they'll do is they will. What was their argument for what it was doing?
They were saying that by producing the spike protein, you're going to stimulate your antibodies so that next time you come across the spike protein from an infection, your body's going to go, oh, I recognize this. And your antibody response will be rapid and effective. But it doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, it really doesn't make sense. If the worst part of the infection was the spike protein, why the hell would you make people's bodies make the spike protein? It's not rocket science to see that it's going to be, causing all the pathology that the infection caused, but much worse because you've got much more of it. Instead of 10,000 bits of spike protein from the infection, you've got trillions, literally trillions, being made in your brain, in your heart, in your lungs, everywhere. And it's no great surprise that there's been so many ill people. And my clinic is full of people who are really suffering. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
Someone asked me the other day, how do you get a sense of what's going to happen next? I told them, I simply look out the window. But if that doesn't work, Polymarket. I check it out. It's extremely insightful. Basically, you're watching how thousands of people are betting on outcomes, political elections, big policy moves, even events you wouldn't expect. It's kind of like a live pulse on what people actually believe. You can see trends before they hit mainstream news. For me, it's not about gambling. I don't like gambling. It's about understanding the probabilities and where the momentum is shifting. If you like following the news but want a deeper look at what people really think, it's a fascinating tool. Check out polymarket.com now. That's right, polymarket.com now. Have a look.
Thanks for watching the video. Have a look at this one over here, or join us Monday, Wednesday and Friday on Rumble.